Yo, what up, dogs? I went and saw Oppenheimer last week, Saturday at 6:30. I got lucky that I was able to get a ticket. It was sold out everywhere except for the theater in the east side of town. So I got a ticket early in the morning, made sure I could get one. I worked all day. Definitely had a nap before I went to the movie because I figured there's no way I'm going to be able to keep my eyes open during a 3-hour movie no matter what. And I know it's a dialogue heavy movie. There's no action sequences in this film. So I was like, I need to nap, I need to prep and get ready to be entertained by a dialogue driven movie. And so I did. I got there at 6:30 and I have to say the excitement of Barbenheimer Heimer was still alive and well. The theater was just bustling with that energy, and it was just great. It was just great to go into the theater again and just feel that energy, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same energy, like the people were showing up with pink, going into the actual theater to sit down. It was packed. The people beside me were like 21 something girls, and the couple to the left of me was like 30 something. There's a group of boys in the front that were like in their 20s, all in suits, and like there's some elder couples behind me too, like in their 60s and 70s. So it was like a really diverse group of people around me, and I have to say that I was thoroughly entertained watching this movie for 3 hours straight. I was like really into it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am not like a history buff, so to speak. I love history. I think it's very important, but I'm not like super well versed in all things history. So going into this movie, I actually don't really know too much about Mr. Oppenheimer or Dr. Oppenheimer. So I was looking forward to kind of learn more about the man behind the bomb, and I think I did. Much like the George Foreman movie that came out earlier this year, I also didn't know anything about him, and it made me want to know more about him. And after finishing this movie and leaving the theater and going home at a respectable time, I got home at 9:30ish, which was great because I had to work first thing in the morning. That's why I just want to make a note here. That's why I tried to get a 6:30 showing, is because all the other showings that were still had tickets were at 8 o'clock, and there was like no way I could go from 8 till 11, get home, go to sleep, and get up for 5:30 to go to work in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I had to be strategic, and I got lucky with that 6:30 spot. So anyways, I got home, and as soon as I got home, I got on that YouTube, man. I wanted to start researching this fella, and it was pretty cool. Like I got into it a little bit more, and that's a good thing about this movie. So let's dive into this film. I have some notes. There's going to be spoilers, but it's a docudrama, so the spoilers are already out there. They've been out there for 70 some odd years now, right? Maybe 80 years now. So spoiler warning, maybe, whatever, right? So the movie is directed by Christopher Nolan, who I appreciate all of his films. My favorite movie of his is Memento. I will always put that as my number one movie by him because I freaking think that movie is genius. So I will always go and see a Christopher Nolan movie no matter what. And I did again. And yeah, Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing. There's no nitpicks about the Christopher Nolan direction because he knows what he's doing. Sure, there's some, you could say, well, there's some bloatedness in here. And I have to point out one thing where I'm like, I'll get to it, okay, maybe I'll just do it right now. I don't think Christopher Nolan is good at directing sex scenes. Because there's a sex scene in here that's actually really awkward, and I'm like, this is weird. We'll get to it. But that's my only nitpick. I have a second nitpick, actually, is the beginning of the movie. I don't know if I missed something, because when I was getting to my seat, I just got to it when the movie was starting, and the lights were down, so I was cutting through the crowd trying to make my way, not stepping on anyone's feet. So I wasn't able to look at the screen while I was getting to my chair. So once I got to my chair, I sat down and I saw, I think it just popped up and said 1, Fusion, and it was like a little title card. And I was like, what is that? So I don't know if he was working out like a Dr. Oppenheimer was working out something, and he was putting title cards on the screen. So I have to rewatch the movie just to see what that was, because that title card activity didn't come out throughout the rest of the movie. So I was kind of like, what was that? What did I just miss? Even though it was like a blip, you know? So that's not a nitpick. That was just something that happened in my experience going to the movie, because I had my back turned to the screen, trying not to step on people's toes. And I stepped on 2 people's toes, and I feel bad for them. I'm sorry. I did not mean to crush your toes. I wish I got to the theater earlier. But I needed a tea. Anyways, let's get into the movie. So, the movie's all about J. Robert Oppenheimer, all right? And he's played by Cillian Murphy, who is the father of the atomic bomb. And this whole movie is about this character, or this individual, this real-life person, who we start off with him in, I guess, university, learning stuff, and then we find out that he's not really a hands-on lab kind of guy. He's more of a theoretical guy. So he goes into the art form of theoretical science, and that is where he prevails. And throughout his studies, he becomes more enamored with other theoretical scientists, and he travels around Europe to learn more. And he eventually becomes a professor at, I think, the University of Boston? At Harvard? I don't know where he was. I totally forget. But that's what we follow for the first little bit about him. And this movie isn't a linear film at all. It's bounces around time-wise. So I'm just kind of linearly speaking of what you see. But when you watch this film, it does bounce around from present to past to future, and it's not a bad jumbled mess or anything like that. Very easy to follow along, but just know that, because I know I'm explaining it a certain way, and it's not how I'm explaining it is not what to expect when you go in to watch this movie. So just know that. So as we follow along Oppenheimer's life in trials and tribulations, we learn more about him, and his personal life plays a big part in this movie and in reality, because people think he is a communist sympathizer or works for the communists, because he doesn't like to be bound in a box, so to speak, of ideas. He's a theoretical thinker, so he likes to see and take in lots of ideas to come up with his own opinions and his own ideas on things. But this gets him in trouble, because he goes out of his way to hang out with active communist parties, so to speak. There's a group called the Spanish something, I can't remember, because they are trying to give money and help refugees not get killed during the war. And it's frowned upon because I guess the Spanish are some form of communism. I have to look into that, because I was like, what is wrong with the Spanish? I thought they were good people, or good in the war and stuff like that. I thought they were an ally, but that's a different research topic, right? So because of his communist ties, the U.S. military doesn't really like him and doesn't really trust him, but they do trust him enough to run the Manhattan Project. And I want to make a note here. When he is in these events, these communist events, he meets, I wrote her name down, Jean Tatlock, who is played by Florence Pugh. And they have a really interesting relationship where it's a very love-hate relationship. He really likes her, but she keeps him at a distance in a sense. And like I said about the sex scene earlier, this is the sex scene that you get is Florence Pugh and Cillian Murphy, and it's not good. It's kind of awkward when you see it. And you're just kind of like, why is this here? You know what I'm saying? It's just why? Why is there a sex scene here? And Florence looks beautiful as always. Sure, you get a top shot of everything. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just kind of like, that's weird. This doesn't feel right in this movie for some strange reason. Just doesn't feel right. So, and in that scene too, she questions him of because Oppenheimer is a really smart individual linguistically, because he taught himself how to read Sanskrit, and that is where she presents him the book the Baba Gavita, where he gets his famous line of like, I'm the bringer of death kind of thing, or death, what, I forget how the line goes right now, but that's where it shows up in this movie as well twice. And she's the one who kind of presents it. She's like, read this. And he reads it. And she's like, you can't. It's a weird scene. Because like even Cillian Murphy's weird. Like naked. It's just an awkward nude scene or love the scene, and I question if Christopher Nolan can do a proper one, because it wasn't sexy at all. It's very utilitarian and just awkward. So as we follow along with Dr. Oppenheimer, we then get presented to his other life, because he also has to hang out and socialize with the socialites as well. And he becomes a professor, and he makes friends with other professors and other scientists and people around the world. But he makes one in particular, who is Ernest Lawrence, who's played by Josh Hartnett. And this scientist is a practical scientist. So their whole interaction is kind of, again, like they are friends, but there's also a push and shove, because Oppenheimer's kind of has communistic leanings. He wants to unionize the professors. He has wild thoughts, and this rubs Ernest the wrong way, and thinks he's going to be problematic, and he won't be able to get onto the big project that Ernest is on. And eventually what plays out is we are introduced to Leslie Groves, who's played by Matt Damon, and he is the head of, or I guess he's the top guy of the military branch that is running the Manhattan Project. And he is the liaison between the scientists and the US president and others that are high up in that brass. And in this movie also, we are introduced to technically the villain of the film, which is Louis Strauss, who is played by Robert Downey Jr., and he's a senator. And as the film plays out, not in a linear fashion, but as we are introduced to this character multiple times, you kind of learn that he hates Oppenheimer for various things. And it's kind of interesting how it all plays out in the end. The end is nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's how it all wraps up. I'm like, that was cool. You know, I was not expecting that, because again, I don't know the history between these two people. They are real individuals, and what happened. You know what I'm saying? And I think Christopher Nolan actually pays a lot of attention to detail in the historical facts about the interactions between these two characters, or these two individuals, that I think it's actually pretty factual. I need to go down the rabbit hole to see how factual this movie is, but you know what? I'm gonna give him a bell curve. It's probably 95% accurate, right? He's trying to tell a story here, so let's give him 5% leeway. You know what I'm saying? So we learn the dynamics of all these characters. We're also introduced to Oppenheimer's wife, who's Kitty Oppenheimer, and that is played by Emily Blunt. And she's cool, man. She is cool. She doesn't have a lot, but what she has, she delivers. You know what I'm saying? Like, she comes across as a mom who doesn't want to be a mom. She likes alcohol. She doesn't want to really raise children. She's stern. She sees things that everyone else doesn't see, and she's very like a spider. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's taking in all the information, and there is great scenes. She has great scenes in this film, man. When they sit down to interrogate, or I guess it's an interrogation, Oppenheimer, she like loses her shit on him multiple times, and is the only person with the right train of thought about everyone is out to get you, Oppenheimer. Don't you see it? You know? And she has two great scenes. And I'm going to mention one of them. I'll mention them. One of the coolest scenes in this film, there's a lot of cool scenes in this film, but this one I really liked, because there's a scene where Oppenheimer is getting grilled about his communist interactions with Jean Tatlock, that's Florence Pugh, and he's trying not to say anything because he doesn't want to alienate and or piss off his wife, Kitty, right? But it's implied that he had sexual liaisons with her. And the scene is so cool because you see a naked Florence Pugh, like, holding and hugging and, like, kind of gyrating on Cillian. Cillian? Oh, no, Cillian, damn it. I always call him Cillian. I'm trying my best not to. And in the back, you see Kitty staring him down like daggers through his soul, because she is seeing this image of her husband being what's the word, sinful and lying, right? And she could see it. It's such a great scene. And she has another great scene where she just tears down the interrogation when she gets interrogated, and she just tears down the whole trial. She's so cool in this. And then she has a great scene at the end of the movie too, where she's just like, yo, blah blah blah. It's nice. Anyways, so like I said, the whole, we follow, the first chunk of the movie follows the trials and tribulations of making the atomic bomb and all the interactions that Oppenheimer has with various scientists. And I remember seeing a meme on the internet saying that Oppenheimer is like the Avengers for science nerds, and it really is. And it really gets you engaged with the film, because Oppenheimer's like, we're going to make a base. We need theoretical, we need practical, we need this, we need that. We're going to get the best scientists. And he's met all these cool scientists along the way, and they're all played by notable actors. I did not write them all down because there's so many people in this film that just showed up to play, you know what I'm saying? And it's such a cool scene. It's just cool moments in this movie where he's building the team. And it's just great, man. It's just great. You know what's there's a really cool visual element in this movie too that shows you time progression. So as the scientists are working, they have two fish bowls. They have a fish bowl and a wine glass. And the wine glass, I believe, is plutonium that they're doing, and the other one is uranium that they're making. And so every now and then you see them drop marbles into the buckets or into the glasses, and over time you see them slowly filling up as time is progressing, and it gives you this really smart way to show time progression, because you see this bottle of marbles filling up slowly as certain scenes are going on. It's really smart. I liked it. I thought it was a super cool idea. Who else is it? What else is going on in here? You do have Einstein in this movie, played by Tom Conti, and I thought his introduction scene where the hat blows off his head was just so silly. It was so silly. I don't know. Something about it was silly. Whatever. It was just silly. I always wondered if the dude had a string and pulled it off. It's so silly. Anyways, there's a scene in this movie where Oppenheimer and Einstein share words, but you don't get to know what it is. And Strauss is always asking him, what did Einstein say? So it's kind of like this little MacGuffin that's sprinkled throughout the movie. And then at the end, or near the end, you find out what was said. And it was cool, man. This whole movie's good. What else is there to say about this film? There's so many actors in this movie. I even wrote down that Harry Truman's in this, obviously the president, and he's played by Gary Oldman. I didn't even think that at first. I was like, is that Gary Oldman as I'm watching it? And also, when you finish watching this movie, actually even during this movie, it makes you think so many things, because there's certain scenes in this film where you're just like, damn, we did that. We did that. You know what I'm saying? We created this bomb. We dropped this bomb. We, damaged Japan and the citizens of that. And there is a certain moment, there's a couple moments in this movie where your heartstrings are really tugged at. And there's also there's a definite scene in this movie where you should be disgusted by it, because there is a scene where the president and the military leaders are all together. I think the president's there. I think it's all the military leaders, and Oppenheimer's there to say, don't drop this bomb. It's successful. Do not use it, right? We can tell the world we have made the atomic bomb. This is the bomb to end all wars, and we should not use it. But they're like, nah, we're going to drop it on Japan. And they're picking the spots where they want to drop it. And they're like, Tokyo's off the list. And the one guy is like, yeah, we don't want to bomb Tokyo, because me and my wife went there on a summer retreat for a couple of weeks, and that place is beautiful, so we don't want to damage that place. But let's take out Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? And it's so cold-blooded, and you kind of sit there and think about when you're voting in real life, and even that was real life too. The people that we put in power, that have the power to make decisions for all of us to drop a bomb on somebody, and we elect these people, and they can just do that. And it made me sit there and go, I was like, what? I never even, it was a moment. It was a moment. I had a moment with this film. Because, yeah, man, I had a couple moments with this film. Because even, like, Oppenheimer, like, trips out, and he knows that he made a bomb of death. And, like, his goal is to make this bomb because he thinks it's the bomb that will stop all wars, knowing that this is the end game bomb. But there's another guy in this. What's his name? Teller. Edward Teller? Yeah, Edward Teller, who's played by Benny Safdie. He is pushing for the hydrogen bomb, which is the next level to the atomic bomb. You know what I'm saying? And there's really no bomb that ends all the bombs. There's another one. It's a wild movie, guys. It's a wild movie. Lots of cool visuals. Well, I gotta watch it again. I think you should definitely go and watch it. You're gonna have a lot of thoughts. If I could give you a couple recommendations, professional recommendations as a theater goer, make sure you go and see this movie with recliner seats, because around the 2.5 hour mark, my thighs and butt got numb. And I needed to stand up and move the blood around because those seats that I was in were not comfortable. So there's a little bit of that. Will I watch this movie again? 100% yes. I will buy it. It will go into the collection as soon as I can get it. That's a 4K. We're getting it day one for sure. Go see it. Bring your friends. You're going to have a lot of questions after you see it. Like, I'm still thinking about that movie after watching it. I'm still thinking about it, you know? And, man, it was just so good. It was so good. It's a great film. It's not perfect. You could sit there and say, hey, I bet you we could have cut 30 minutes out of this. I'm almost sure you could. Maybe even 45 if you wanted to get crazy with it. But, like, because there is some redundancies every now and then, dialogue-wise. But, yeah, man, it's freaking pretty damn great for a movie that's just dialogue. 3 hours of dialogue. And I was entertained the entire time. So, yeah, go see it. I recommend it. I'm out of here. The next movie I'm going to review is Ninja Turtles. And then I don't know what I'm doing after that. We got like Blue Beetle coming up. I might try and sneak in Haunted Mansion. We got the Meg 2. We got Gran Turismo. Just a lot of films coming out this month. And I'm super busy with work right now. Actually, I got to go to work now. So that's the end, guys. Whatever movies you guys are watching, I hope you're loving them and digging them. I got to get out of here. Back to work for me. Have a good week, everybody. Peace out. I'll see you later. Bye, everybody. Bye.